This is Inside with Outsiders. I'm Jeremy Asgari, and today's guest is Raeven Western. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And is it true you're a native New Yorker?
I am native, born and raised.
Born and raised, really. And and beyond that, even more so, you're a Nuyorican, right?
Yes.
And okay, so where did you grow up?
Spanish Harlem.
Really?
Can't get more Nuyorican than that.
No, you
yes.
cannot. And then, are you okay with telling us what decades you were in?
You mean my age?
Or tell your age, or whatever you're comfortable with.
I'm a proud 43-year-old.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you definitely saw the New York Spanish Harlem in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
So how do you feel about this trend? Because it's transformed a lot since then.
It has. I feel like Harlem is one of the last neighborhoods to kind of it's slowly, the transformation has slowly been happening, but it's not, the neighborhood in whole is still very much Spanish Harlem.
And specifically Spanish Harlem, because the parts of Harlem in general, I feel like maybe the west side and closer to Central Park-ish on the west side have changed a lot more than Spanish Harlem.
East Harlem, no.
Yeah. So that's where you represent?
Yes.
Are you still there?
No.
No. I mean, when did you leave there?
Junior high school, I moved up to the Bronx.
Okay.
And then adulthood, I moved back to the island.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
You know, the Bronx is like really underrepresented as far in I guess in New York City's brand. The Bronx isn't really represented, but
It feels like it's so far away. Like you gotta take forever to get up there.
well, if you're talking to like compared to like downtown Manhattan, yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're shooting here in Jersey. We're closer to downtown than you are in the Bronx.
Yeah, but I think for me, I'd say yes to going to the Bronx faster than I'd say yes to going to Brooklyn or Queens.
Going where, like going to
Anywhere, Brooklyn or Queens.
Why is that?
That seems further to me.
Well, you're
Same way about Brooklyn.
Queens is great, and I feel like it's like a stepchild to Brooklyn because everyone, let's face it, everyone in Brooklyn and Manhattan now is a lot of implants, right? So,
Where are you from?
where do you think I'm from?
I don't know. It's not giving Manhattan vibes.
Well, me and Chris grew up a few blocks away, like 20 blocks away from here. So
okay,
from
Jersey.
here, although my parents are divorced, and I also, my mom being a single mom, also needed as much help for school tuition because she wanted to send me to private school. So I went to school in Manhattan. I went to Eunice until junior high. Then I went to school in Hoboken. My dad lived in Atlantic City, Teaneck, then Forest Hills, Queens, then moved to Connecticut. So a true tri-state area child, I guess. What kind of vibes were you getting from me? You're like, wait, hold up, where are you from?
I don't know what it is about being a New Yorker, but we're very, we take it personal when someone says they're from New York or they're not from New York. We want to know specifically and help you get that right.
I agree, and honestly, I agree, and I think even being from here, which is not New York, but it's still a commuter neighborhood. I have people that because I currently live in Jersey City. I have people asking me, like, well, why do you live in Jersey City? Or where do you live? I said Jersey City. Like, oh, I live in Manhattan. I'm like, oh, really? Like, did you grow up there? Oh no. Well, where'd you grow up? Like the Midwest somewhere. I'm like, so you're giving me grief because I live in Jersey City, but you grew up in like Indiana? I'm good. Like, I'd rather have this upbringing.
Question for native New Yorker.
Yes.
If you live in New York for a certain amount of time, do you become a New Yorker or no?
Ooh, that's a great question.
No.
I have a theory on this too, but go ahead.
No. I mean,
You hear people say it's like a 7 to a 10-year rule.
people want to, and the people who've made that up obviously are not people who live in New York. So, no, it's really okay to represent where you're from.
What's interesting is I was hanging out with this girl a few months ago, and on her Instagram account it said New Yorker. She's from Chicago, but she's been here 10 years, so she considers, yeah, I'm a New Yorker. I'm like, in my mind, and I'm trying to be so cool and not blast her for this. But her circle of friends, the places she goes to, her view is not at all. And why would it be? She's not from here. But the fact that she puts on her Instagram bio, New Yorker, I'm like.
So I'm going to say this. It is really okay to say I'm from Chicago, but I've lived in New York for the last 10 years.
Exactly.
Chicago's amazing.
And Chicago's a city too. It's not like she's saying she's from Nebraska or something like that, right?
It gives you more flavor to say that I'm from here,
Yeah.
but now I live here. So
Because there's credit to be given to those people as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't have your base in New York City, but you've managed to make it and live here.
Yeah.
That says something, right?
and as
So
a New Yorker, we're going to ask you
Yeah.
where exactly
What high
were
school did you go to?
But where were you born?
Yeah.
Right?
Well-
That's the question. Where were you born?
I'm born in Paris.
Okay.
So that's
But you're also kind of raised in Jersey and kind of sprouted in
all
other
over, right?
places,
But I
yeah.
would never say, like, if I had to identify with anything, it's this region. Like people, my mom is from France, my dad's from Iran. He's Persian. People are like, what do you identify the most with? I'm like, honestly, the area where I grew up in, like the tri-state area, because that's a culture I really know. I mean, sure, I have parts of my identity that relate towards my mom's cultural background and my dad's, but yeah.
Well, then that's really okay to say I'm born in Paris, but I'm a tri-state kid.
And I do.
Yes.
But what's your back? You're Nuyorican, right?
Yes.
Are your parents born and raised in New York?
No. Yes, I'm sorry. Yes. So it's my grandparents that are born in Puerto Rico and Dominican Republic.
Okay.
And my parents are both New Yorkers.
So who's Dominican and who's Puerto Rican?
My mother is Puerto Riqueña. Let me get that right since I'm
Yeah.
getting filmed. And my father is half Dominican, half Puerto Rican.
Okay.
And even for that, for me, I feel like I identify as a Puerto Rican
Yeah.
because I've never really culturally gotten to know my Dominican family. So
Okay, understandable. And but are you familiar with any Dominican culture? Other than, like, obviously we live in New York, so there's like a million Dominicans
I mean,
as well.
other than being in New York, a little bit, but more
Yeah.
so, I get the other side.
Yeah. And what do people think you are when they meet you?
It depends on where I am currently, right? Because I think summertime islands, whatever island I am, I've identified with being a native from there.
Or do you mean people think you're from there? Is that
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So, like, ethnically ambiguous in a sense, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I was going to say, you look Caribbean. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that pretty much the general population.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, it's rare when someone says you look Puerto Rican, and I'm like, thank you.
But honestly, like, you do look Puerto Rican, and you could pass for some other stuff too. Because what is Puerto Rican, right? You could be European looking, you can be Indian looking, you could be black,
I'll take it all. It's
you
all
can be
love.
Asian, right? There's some Asian, Puerto Rican, yeah.
No, I've never heard that, but I'll take it all because it's all
But,
love.
yeah.
No, there's a few over there. Like we had that, actually, the guy who runs the post office in my father's town is half Asian.
Okay. I mean, anyway, it's like a melting pot, right? So what was it like growing up in Spanish Harlem, and what was your experience like growing up? And I know you're a full-time model, correct?
Yes.
And how long have you been doing that? Like, when did you start that?
Okay, so I'll start there and go backwards.
Yeah.
So I've been modeling for 23 years. I think innately it was something I always knew I wanted to do, but I also think my community might have planted that seed in me, just being tall and skinny.
Right.
And it was one of those things that I often heard, oh, you should model, you should model. And I think because I just heard it so long as a kid, by the time I became a teenager, I was like, I want to model.
Right. Makes sense.
Yeah, but it took for me from being a teenager to graduating high school to then getting signed with an agent because it was a lot of no's.
So you were approaching agencies?
Yeah, I
I thought you
did.
got discovered.
No, kind of. So I started going to agencies when I was junior high school with my mother, and it was they didn't feel that I was developed enough to kind of be able to, and I get that because I don't think
You mean physically or in maturity?
maturity.
Yeah.
I don't think I physically and maturity had the ability to be in front of a camera and be able to kind of own that space as a teenager, as some people do. But I still pursued it, and I knew that after high school was over, I was going to go back and revisit all those agencies to see if I can get a yes from someone.
Yeah.
And it was still a whole lot of no's.
Really?
So then I went to college, and I kind of still wanted to pursue it, and working part-time at Macy's had someone say, hey, my friend's doing a fashion show, would you be in it?
Yeah.
And that's when the journey started.
Nice. And I mean, how were your parents? Were your parents like supportive of it? Were they like trying to help you facilitate your dream?
My mother, yes.
Your mother was?
Yes,
Yeah.
my single mom. So my mom was for it, especially as a teenager, her too, having friends saying, yeah, you should get Raven into modeling. I know someone who you can speak to. So she did. She was also very kind of supportive in that space. But then after graduating high school, I didn't need my mother to help me in that space. I could do that on my own, and I did. But yeah, my mom's been supportive. But the moment I told her, I was like, yeah, so I'm going to stop going to school and become a full-time model. And my mom was like, the moment you have to get a part-time job, you're going back to school.
What school were you at the time?
Hostos.
So college in, where's Hostos?
Bronx Community College.
Okay. Gotcha. That's part of CUNY, right?
Yeah.
I'm a CUNY grad.
Hey.
So is he. Hunter College.
Okay.
Oh.
I started out in BMCC first, then I went to
I took some classes there, so I'm with you. So did you ever have to get a part-time job?
I mean, much older.
Yeah.
But in the beginning, no.
So you're still full-time modeling.
Yes.
23 years later.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
It is. And it's interesting because even within this journey, there's been a lot of ups and downs, which is natural for any journey, right? There's been a lot of, I'm not doing this shit anymore. I'm done.
Right,
I'm
yeah.
done. And then you get a good book and you're like, oh, okay,
Right.
I'm back in. So it's been that kind of in and out relationship. And I think I just finally got to the part where I'm just like, no, I'm committed. This is who I am. This is what I do. And I
And you
absolutely
enjoy
love it.
Oh, you
Yeah.
do? Okay, that's important. Because I
Yes.
know for me, the way you described like the in and out and the next big gig for me when I was working nightlife, it was like that. The next big party, like, okay, now I'm making money again. But I wasn't liking it after a while.
Yeah.
And I needed it out.
Yeah, it is. I think it's a toxic relationship to be
Yeah.
in.
Well, easy
right?
money is toxic, right?
Yes,
'Cause-
but that's also exciting to
Right.
be able to make a certain amount of money. I won't say effortlessly, but just the idea of making a certain amount of money, it's
Right.
exciting.
Well, I would say, because again, nightlife wasn't easy, it was hard. But the aspect that was, it was like being able to maintain a lifestyle that you enjoyed and make the kind of money you want to have your financial stability. That's toxic, especially when you stop liking what you're doing.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
That becomes a problem.
So your mom was super supportive. What were some of the gigs you got and that you remember in your lifetime as a model? Like,
Beginning jobs were fun. I remember my first photo shoot was in Antigua.
oh, so you had
Yeah.
to travel off the bat.
Yeah. It was nice. Then trying to work in Paris was also a fun time. That's probably my best memories, working in Paris. And doing Tom Ford's first Yves Saint Laurent show. That was pretty major
Wow.
for me. Yeah, that was
This
a good
was
one.
in Paris?
Yeah.
That's something to talk about.
Yeah. It was exciting. But
Was it runway?
it was runway.
Okay.
Yeah.
How tall are you?
5'10".
Okay. Are you like a legit 5'10" or are you like a girl 5'10" meaning 6 feet?
First of all, that statement is universal because I know a lot of men who like to say the same thing. But I never knew
a lot
girls
of
say
men
that
would
as
do-
well.
The men say the opposite way. Men would say 6 feet, but they're 5'10".
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Well, I'm a true 5'10".
Okay. No, I meant like girls will lie to be shorter
Oh
sometimes.
no. Let me arch my back and sit up even taller because I enjoy.
That's beautiful that you
Yeah.
appreciate your height. So those are like big time deals. But when you were in school, let's backtrack
Mm-hmm.
a little bit. What were you planning on studying?
I didn't know. I didn't have an idea. I think there was a part of me that knew I still wanted to pursue modeling.
Yeah.
So the idea of being in school, I just, I went originally for accounting.
Really?
Which
I
is
can't
the-
imagine
which
showing
is-
up to like an accounting office, like, let's do your taxes.
Well, that was the response I got where people were like, that's really what you want to do? And I was like, yeah, I was excited to do it. And it took one person to say, you don't want to do that. And I believe them.
Well, first off, who said that and why did you believe them so easily?
I don't know the person. I was young, right?
Yeah.
We weren't having these elaborate conversations about following your dreams and not listening to people at that time. But I was good. I'm good with numbers. I enjoy numbers. So for me, I was just like, yeah, this is something that I'd like to do. But someone was like, you know how boring that is?
Do you do your own taxes now?
No.
Yeah, she was exactly with numbers.
No, we pay someone else to do
Exactly.
that. But yeah, someone was just like, it's just boring. And I was like, ooh, I don't want to do something that's boring.
But it took you, so I guess somebody who understood the field to tell you that it's boring.
I don't even remember this person,
Right.
but it's stuck in my head. And that's usually what happens, right? It takes that one person to say something negative. It,
Yeah.
give or take. But at that time, it took that one person, and I was just like, I don't want to do this anymore. And I think I just switched to liberal arts, and I was just taking the basic classes. But I was there for a year.
Yeah.
And then the next year, I was like, yeah, we're just not going to sign up for any classes because I'm going to pursue this.
Oh, so you weren't signed yet?
No. Well, no. I got signed,
Yeah.
and then I didn't return.
Okay.
Yes.
At least you had that secured.
Yes. Yeah.
It's funny that you said that one person to tell you that it's boring and to deter you from doing it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I get great feedback on Outsiders, but there's been people who are like, "Oh, could you do outside? What do you do full time?" And I'm like, "I do Outsiders."
I get that question all the time.
Yeah.
What else do you do? I have girlfriends who work in HR, and they're just like, Raven, anytime you want a job.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I have a job.
Yeah, I hear it, and this has been a couple times. There's, you know, it never deterred me, but like it wears me down. I'm like, you know, should I be doing something else? This is full time. This is like a lot of work for me, but.
Yeah.
I see friends that have your traditional jobs, or maybe in finance or whatever, making crazy amounts of money.
Good for them.
And so, yeah, good for them. I mean, they're asking me like, yeah, so what else you got going on? And I do have a couple side things here and there, but it's not like side jobs. It's like advising on a startup and doing stuff like that. So it's still entrepreneurial stuff.
Yes.
But yeah, I could see, like, I definitely learned with the progress we've made with everything with Outsiders and just everything I've done as an entrepreneur in my life, because I never worked for somebody, that you can't listen to somebody. And you can't even look at somebody else's path.
No, I think we're understanding now how important it is to not compare, right?
I mean,
comparison is the thief of joy.
What is it? Say it again?
Is it comparison is the thief of joy? I believe.
I never heard that, but it's a good saying.
Yeah, but also, I think people are just so quick to input their or also kind of
Project.
Yeah, or deflect, and it's just like we don't really realize that, and it does. You know, words are powerful, and we don't realize what seeds that we plant into people's heads when we project something not being possible, something being or whatever it is.
Well, looking back at your situation, it's almost a blessing that person talks you out of it, and I would almost say that you probably wanted to be talked out of that because you wanted to pursue your dream.
I mean, yes, but it wouldn't have hurt if I had a associates in accounting. It would have never hurt. But regardless, it didn't matter because I also choose to end my education at that point. So whether it was accounting or something else.
And also, I mean, I guess it depends on your experience, what you plan on studying, your school, but I don't feel like I learned a whole lot of really, really useful information in school. Again, I was a communications major, so looking back, like I would have studied entrepreneurship, business, something else maybe. But the stuff I learned while working in the field, like as an entrepreneur, even in nightlife, I have been having this conversation for the past few weeks with people. Like, it was such a great learning experience, learning to, I mean, at a most basic level, take the same product, which is a party, and doing it 3 to 4 times a week, but and this is over the course of 15 years, and somehow convincing people that it's a unique experience that they'll never experience, and every day, and it, believe it or not, it helped me be able to create that for other things that are actually unique. So yeah, school, I think it's good to do. It's good to get your degree. I'm not going to say no to that at all, but I definitely learned more with life experience.
So it's also a personal choice. I'm having these conversations now with friends because I'm returning to school in the fall. And it's just like, again, deflecting. Why?
Accounting?
What?
Accounting?
No.
Well, listen, I just graduated college in like a couple months ago.
Yeah,
so.
I think
last year, in December of last year.
it's a personal choice.
Yeah.
It's a personal choice, and people like to attach their ideas to your whys. And it's like, I'm not going there because I think it's going to help me become X, Y, and Z. It could, but there's just this innate feeling within me, which is why I want to return. I've always wanted to return ever since I gave birth. And it took 8 years to finally say, get back in the building.
Definitely want to talk about your child as well, and
Yes.
that whole process as far as how that changed your life. But What are you going back to school to study, if you want me asking?
Business management.
Business management, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And what do you have a vision as to why, like, what your goal is with that? Like,
Well, I'm returning back to the school where I started, so because it just felt easier to go there than pick up the credits and go somewhere else. And the only two things that were most interesting to me was accounting and business management. So I had to choose between the two, and I just feel like as a freelancer, as someone who is in pursuit of just doing different things, business management felt up my alley. Also, looking back at the things that I've done before and how exciting it is for me to be a part of that.
I mean, it can definitely help you, especially with your own contracts and your current business.
Yeah.
Like, I don't see how that's added value to your
But
career.
I also don't know what can happen from this, right? Like, you ever have that innate feeling that you're supposed to do something or you want to show up, right? I have no idea what's going to come out. Like, obviously, I'm going to go to school, learn something, graduate.
Right.
But there might be something within that whole process which is bringing me in here. I don't know. I have no idea, but I'm excited to see how it unfolds.
Are you also doing it because of your daughter and because you want to set an example?
Yes, part of that is yes. I think there's something in being able to start something and finish it if it has meaning to you, right? And this has meaning for me. And before I wanted to do it when she was a younger age, and now that I'm doing it at this age, it's really interesting because she is like, I'm going to check your homework. So I'm like, you know what? I kind of like that she's a little older and I get to experience this with her as she is older and will be able to remember these moments. But yeah, it's,
So she's 8 years old?
Yeah.
So I'm sure that changed your life. What was life like prior to your daughter?
How much time do we have?
We have a good 45 minutes.
Yeah, it has. Being a parent is amazing. Man, I'm going to get semi-emotional too.
You can, and people have.
Being a parent is really an amazing thing. The whole unfolding of being a mother, having a child with someone, the relationship that you have with that someone, the relationship that you have with yourself, like it just, for me, if I'm being honest, it crumbled. And that was a good thing.
What crumbled?
I think whoever I thought I was supposed to be or am, or just the way I operated in life, I had a falling apart moment.
As far as your identity or like just your vision of the future, what things are supposed to be?
I think that for me, there was a moment where I was like, man, this is not what I thought my life was going to look like. And that was a good thing. But motherhood entering motherhood was really hard. Jeremy, you're not supposed to have me on here crying.
It's okay.
But entering motherhood for me, because I think that we have this set idea of what life is going to look like. And it was completely different, but it was very good for me, right?
What was different from your vision prior, and then when the reality? What was so different?
Okay, hold on.
Yeah. Take your time. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you. That's cool. All right. Deep breath. Where do I start? I'm trying to recap.
Because you're a single parent,
Yes.
right? That's a lot of pressure.
And that's it. Well, I like to say I'm a mother that is single because I have an amazing community. I have a lot of support. Her father's in the picture. I think for me, I just thought motherhood would look different. Raising a child would be different, right?
How?
I
But explain,
I didn't think I was going to be single.
Okay.
That part.
Yeah.
And just having to do a lot on my own.
Yeah.
It's different.
Yeah. Well, no one kind of goes into it with the goal or assuming that they're going to be alone, right? So.
But I think in a good way, it stripped me of the identity that I thought I had. And to now, I'm just like, there's more within me that I want to experience. There's a person within me who needs to be present in this moment now to live a life that is completely different, right? So I think part of me is in a space where I'm just really excited to dive into who I am and unlayering all the layers of who I am and living a life in a way that is whole and full and yummy and exciting and all that.
And it's funny because before we had the cameras turned on, you were like, you were surprised I asked you to be on the show.
Yeah.
But I think it was the first hike you did with us at Bear Mountain. It was like, I wasn't expecting to be so much uphill scrambling. But I had a great time afterwards. Like, wow, that was really fun. And afterwards, you posted this like testimonial, pouring your heart out. And one, thank you, because it was just beautiful, and it's something that's gonna.
Can I get that so we might be able to splice that into
Absolutely, definitely. I'll send that over.
Also,
to you.
I started recording before I told you guys I was recording.
You usually do, yeah.
I got all that on.
Okay, perfect. But, he's so good. And you poured your heart out about The Outsiders, and for me, I was watching. I'm like, I didn't ask her to do this. This is amazing. Like, wow, thank you. Like, I was so appreciative because I need the positive reinforcement from what I'm doing because it's a lot of work, and sometimes it's like, all right, it's a struggle right now financially with certain sponsors that aren't on board just quite yet, and like seeing the impact I have that's positive that I have. Remember saying the Outsiders have, because it's my staff, it's the people like you, the people who are involved, people like BAMS who are helping out feature our community. It makes it feel like, okay, there's a reason why we're doing this, put this effort in.
No, Outsiders is very needed.
I appreciate that.
Yes.
Thank you. I love hearing that. But that what you said was amazing, and I forgot where I was going with this, but because again, it's overwhelmingly appreciated. So thank you.
You're welcome. Motherhood, single life.
Yes, motherhood, single life. Oh, so you were talking about how this is where I was going with it. One of the things you mentioned in that was that you needed time for yourself, and I started following you after that, and seeing how aware you are of your well-being as a mother that is single, with needing time for yourself so that you can be a better mother and so on. Like, when did you make these, like, go ahead, you gonna say something?
No, I was gonna say after that trip, there was such joy that bled into the rest of the days. I was like, oh, this joy feels so good. Oof. But go ahead.
I need you to write some reviews on Google. When did you realize, like, you're obviously very aware of what you need, right? Were you always that aware? That's like something I feel like for myself has come with age and maturity. But when did this whole transition from being like, I'm sure there was a moment where you were overwhelmed, like, okay, I got a kid, I got to do this. What feels like alone.
So this was well before self-love was a hashtag.
Yeah.
Realizing that there was an aspect of my life that didn't exist. And it's not to say I didn't love myself, but there was just so many things where it was like, there's something missing in my life. And I identified that as love. There's a aspect of love that just doesn't exist in my life, and I needed to be kinder to myself, right? I knew that the words and the stories that I was repeating in my head often weren't positive, and I'm a positive, outgoing person. Like, that's who I've always been. But I was having, motherhood was difficult. I wasn't working as much as a model. Being a provider, I felt like it was really hard. And I was so aware of all these things that were not working out that my thoughts and my emotions were a reflection of that. And I was like, okay, that's what needs to be changed, right? And I need to be more loving to myself. I thought about all the characteristics that we understand love to be kind, to be patient, to be brave, just, all
with
of them.
With yourself.
Yes, with myself. And I was like, I'm not being that person to me. So I am ready to experience a relationship with myself where love is included. And I don't know what that looks like, but I know I need to show up for myself in a way.
It's funny you said that, because I go to therapy, and my therapist once said, like, the way you talk to yourself, these thoughts, imagine what you're saying to yourself, the criticism was somebody that was a friend of yours. Would you be friends with this person? I was like, absolutely not. Yeah. Like, the self-talk sometimes can be detrimental. And then thinking about and seeing yourself from the outside perspective, and when you're getting these thoughts, removing yourself from that voice or the thoughts, and it gives you perspective. And I think, people like, most people, but definitely you and I, and maybe Chris, were toughest on ourselves.
Everyone is, right? We are our toughest critic. And I think for me, it's also patterns. Like, I'll look back and say, okay, what's the underlying thing? What is happening here that all this keeps happening? Oh, it's me. Yeah. Oh, look at that. Okay.
Exactly. Taking ownership of your patterns.
Yeah.
And I said while the cameras were rolling, but we weren't started yet. You know, one of the reasons why it's important to have you on here is because from the outside perspective, especially with social media, we tend to see the model on social media, perfect life. And sometimes people feel worse about themselves when they see that. But the fact that you're so open and honest about the struggles that you face, whether it be as a parent that's single, self-doubt, imposter syndrome, you know, you're going back to school, feeling like, you know, whatever thoughts or negative thoughts you might bring up to yourself about going back to school, like vocalizing that so that it's not just like the dream life that you're portraying, which most people do on social media.
Well, yeah, but I think we also have to take in considerations. Even though we're on social media, social media so much, it's really just a small aspect of one's life. I don't care if I'm on there all day. It's still just one.
And it's what you choose to have them see. And the fact that you're choosing them to see stuff that's not just super successful and giving them a peek into, and granted, you're maybe not even showing all your demons either.
Yeah.
Right. And not to say that I advise people do that either, but show a peek at like everything. I remember one of the posts, a friend of mine, John Lee, he actually passed away. He took a photo of me when I was working one day on my laptop. He was like, he'd end up hanging out with me during the day sometimes because his schedule allowed it. And he's just hanging out while I'm working. He snaps a photo I was working. And he's like, it's a good photo. You should post it. Like, you know what? I'm going to post this photo of me working because I never post that. And people think that the end product is my lifestyle. People think that me on a hike, or at the time me throwing a party, was what I do for work. That's not the work. And it got such a great response, like showing the backside, showing the stuff that's not glamorous, you know, just showing me at a laptop. I think it's important to show that aspect because people lose sight of that.
Yeah, we do. We lose sight of life. We lose sight of ourselves. Yeah. We lose sight of our dreams, right? So
what well, first, when you said you stopped working a lot when around the time you had your daughter, we'll backtrack a little to that. What was that like? I mean, you obviously, depending on your physical appearance and so on, like, how was that? Is that like a dark moment for you? Or? I mean, not necessarily her birth. Obviously, her birth was amazing.
No, there was a lot of things within that kind of unfolded that kind of just went back to back to back, and I was having a moment where I'm like, okay, I'm done. My plate is loaded. I need something off my plate. But motherhood, I switched agencies. I've never said this out loud, but my agency dropped me.
Really?
Yeah. And I was like,
Was this when you were pregnant?
No, this was, she might have been like 2.5, almost 3. And I got dropped from my agency. I wasn't working. And I understood that. The agency was amazing, but I just wasn't working. And
as in they weren't booking you stuff, or you're choosing not to go cast?
No, I wasn't getting booked for jobs.
Really?
Yeah. So that's one of those things where you're like, F it, I don't want to do this anymore. Yeah. But yeah, I didn't work, but then I freelanced. I was able to, I still had a smaller agency that would book me on these small jobs. And then I somehow, you know, when those things just work out, when life just deals you good hands, I had a couple of good hands that kept me working and to pay the bills. But then I was like, I don't want this freelance life. Yeah. Like, I don't want to be a freelance model where I don't. So I ended up reaching out to my old booker who placed me with my new agency, and then they were great.
On my way over here, I saw a video clip with Tom Hanks, Jamie Foxx, Robert De Niro, whatever, and they're talking about this too shall pass, right? But he said, time is always, like he said, always give it time, because you never know. Like I know when I'm really stressed out, trying to figure out a sponsor for sponsor partner for Outsiders, and I go to sleep, I'm like, damn, I didn't close that deal today. You know, time is ticking, or whatever it is. What I've been reminding myself the last few weeks is like, tomorrow's a new day, and all the opportunities I had today aren't the last opportunities that present themselves. So that gives me like the reassurance and going like, all right, what's the day have in store for me today?
Yeah.
You know?
And it's good preparation. You know, for me to go on castings, I go on castings all the time, and I don't book them, but I know that how I show up is preparation for how I'll show up for the next booking.
How you show up for the previous booking, you're saying?
Yes. Or I'm sorry. So if I have a casting today, how I show up is going to prepare me for how I show up tomorrow and so forth. So for me, that's kind of how I look at it, right? Everything is some form of preparation. So the conversation you might have had today with X, Y, and Z
Yeah.
might be the conversation that prepares you for your next win. We don't know. We have no idea what that looks like.
Well, of course, you have to take it as like a learning experience, which
Yeah.
sounds so cliche and cheesy.
But it's true.
Yeah.
It is true. I mean, think about the amount of times you get to sit in front of someone. You're building your character.
Yeah.
You're building your conversation. And I think those tools help you and as you move forward, because you might say, "Damn, I shouldn't have said that."
Right.
And then anything, right? Like anything. And then you'll realize that was the perfect thing not to say to the next person. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I also know that miracles happen in the blink of an eye. So
It's true. I was hanging out with a friend of mine last night, and a year ago he wasn't engaged and wasn't about to be a father. Now he's like engaged to the woman of his dreams, or he's married to the woman of his dreams, and he's expecting his first kid. So it was like within a few months, his whole life turned like that. Now that you're kind of going back to school, but you're still just embracing the fact that you love your career and what you do. What are your new goals in life?
Ooh, I don't know. Just to survive the day.
I mean,
I think right
survivor,
now I am focused on this year and being present in this space as being a model, right? And being able to expand who I am, expand my confidence, my level of comfort in front of the camera, my ability to have a conversation on camera, and going back to school. I want to return. So this is also something I did prior to motherhood, was coaching, and really being able to help people clarify their dreams, aka dream pusher.
So, that's right. That's your Instagram handle. You were doing this prior to your
Motherhood.
daughter? So what were you doing? How were you doing it? Was it like
Jeremy,
just
do me a favor,
friends?
move closer to the mic.
Yeah, sorry.
No, well, this is also the beginning of social, I think Instagram, Twitter into Instagram. I went to IPEC, one of the top leading schools for coaching, and loved it, best experience ever. And I did that because I really wanted to, I got really invested in wanting to support people more than just being a cheerleader for someone's dreams, right? I understood just within my journey of how important it is to have someone support you and say, yeah, you can do that, and show you the tools and the ways, right? And have a community of people encourage you. And I wanted to be able to do more than just say, you can do it. I really wanted to understand the tools and to help someone move forward in where they were right now to where they wanted to go. So I know for me, I've always been passionate in serving people and helping people. And I think my transition into motherhood has made me understand how important it is to love yourself in a way that allows you to dream bigger and want more for yourself and be confident in that pursuit of having more and wanting more. So I'm slowly kind of getting back into that space as well.
So the coaching is going to be is what you'd like to get back into?
Coaching is what I'm doing. I'm already doing that now, but it's what I wanted to do, what I want to do and expand and see how that is, because I don't see myself being a one-on-one coach for a long time because it's a bit taxing, but I enjoy it. And again, I think that because I'm just into the space of finding myself again, right? Yeah. I don't want to limit what's possible.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't want to say, well, I don't want to do that because of X, Y, Z.
Right.
No, let me be in this space, own it and grow in it, and then decide what's going to be next for me.
Mm-hmm. So leaving your options open.
Yeah.
It's a good approach. So what do you do for fun when you're not
On the outsiders?
Outsiders. I didn't tell her to say that.
I just got a skateboard, and
I've seen that.
Yeah.
I completely forgot to ask. So
All
what
right,
is
hold
this?
on. Wait, an actual skateboard or a longboard?
No,
A
a skateboard.
skateboard.
All right, because there's a difference, and I know
Yeah.
guys who skate don't really like the longboarders.
Right.
Longboarders don't like the skaters. Like
Right, no, but she's got a skateboard, and
Okay.
and I see her posting videos, and you do great reels and cuts and edits on your
Thanks.
videos. But so what is this about?
I know my brother says the same thing. He's like, why? Because it's fun. And there's this inner kid in me who wants to do these adventurous things. And that's just one of the things that I want to, and I get to do. And I love it.
I gotta connect you with a friend of mine. She's not the greatest skater by any means, but she loves it, and she's like has this whole girl empowerment skateboard community thing that she's put together. it's amazing. So I'll connect you with her because again, she's also not the best. She's fallen a couple of times, broken her wrist. And like I see your videos, and you're very careful. Sometimes I see her go forward. I'm like,
I've got jobs lined up.
Yeah.
But yeah, I am. But it's fun to. I'm such a learner. I'm a lover of learning something new. I enjoy the process of being wrong. I enjoy the process of messing up and failing. Like I enjoy learning. So it's just one of those things.
I was going to say, she met Tony earlier, the other tattoo artist.
Yeah.
Here. Actually, Tony's wife actually designed this skateboard.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
Is that a unicorn?
Yeah,
Nice.
Yeah, because she's part of the unicorn model.
Let me see this. We'll show the audience here. Unicorn Mafia skateboard. It's cool. So skateboarding. Okay. Have you had any injuries just yet?
No.
I see you got full protection, full gear.
Yes. No. Like I said, I have jobs.
Yeah, that's something they can take into. You can't be showing up to a casting with a cast on unless you're
elbow dislocated.
Unless you're modeling for HSS, right?
Exactly.
So I asked you about your goals and dreams, but you kind of spoke more about obviously fluidity and more professional. Do you have anything personal, like I don't know, anything, like travel wise or?
I do. I would love to include travel back into my life. I do. I miss traveling. I miss being away, and that just being able to experience a different. I think that's also something important for me to crack my norm, because I have this pattern of working, mothering, me time, mothering. Like I do that, but I need to get out of my comfort and out of my location. But definitely travel is on my.
Good. We'll have you. Well, hopefully you consider some of the outsiders.
I'm always on the site. I'm like, what do I want to do? Where to? That looks good. I'm checking it out.
Well, I'll be sure to keep reminding you about what we have going on. I guess what's your motivation? You have pretty lofty goals, but reasonable. But what motivates you? What inspires you to stay motivated, I should say?
I mean, I'm pretty self-motivated. I'm here. I'm here and I'm alive. I have a daughter that I absolutely love. I have a life that I love, and I just want to see the more that exists, right? Like I am in a space where I'm really hungry to see what else.
That's important. I think curiosity keeps you young.
Yeah.
I mean, as long as you're challenging yourself as well. Like I was talking to my cousin about how to keep the mind sharp. It's always challenging, even when you get older, to challenge yourself somehow.
Well, yeah, I mean, even staying self-motivated gets exhausting. But yeah, I guess curiosity, what you said, that's.
That's good. I'm reading I'm not texting, I'm reading the questions I have.
I would hope not. No, I figured that.
What advice would you give high school you?
Oh, high school Ray.
What was high school Ray like? Troublemaker?
Leave the boys alone.
Really? What was high school Ray really like?
No, I've always been very low-key cool, friends with everyone.
You got a devilish smile on your face right now. What's that about?
I'm just rekindling high school Ray. I was on the basketball team.
Okay.
Yeah. I think for any of my ages, I would have said dream bigger. Yeah.
I mean, one would argue that your dream of becoming a full-time model is a big dream.
Yeah, but even within this space, there's room for me to dream bigger.
I agree.
Yeah, I think that, I'm realizing that our circumstances, we sometimes dream from our circumstances where we cut ourselves short, right? Where you dream beyond that, or you go beyond that and you realize that, oh, wait, there's just so much more. And I think that adulting will have you thinking you can't do much or you can't be much or that this is it for you.
Right.
No. But also I think there's this thing where we are not allowed to want more for ourselves, right? Or it's almost like it's
being shamed for
wanting more, for asking more, for doing more. Like the more, it's like, no, won't you be grateful for where you are? I am.
Yeah.
but there's still more in this life that I want to do, be, and have.
Well, the thing to be careful about, I think, is when you have achieved so much, to find a time where you actually where you're content where you're at. Not that you stop challenging yourself for the next goal, but to be actually appreciative of that and not always being so hungry where you feel like you're not fulfilled at all.
Well, no, and for me, I don't think I'm at my half mark of capacity of what I'm capable of doing. Right? I think motherhood, you play it safe. Not all mothers, but for me, it's just been playing it safe and like, okay, well, I'm here. Well, maybe I could just do this.
Yeah.
Where then I might talk myself out of that, and I'm like, I just don't want to talk myself out of anything.
Well, it's understandable to play it safe. You're responsible for another life, right?
Yeah, but I also think what that does to her, right? That I'm going to raise a child who's going to play it safe.
It's funny. I'm looking at my mom's path as a single mom. I have a twin brother, my brother and I. I remember I've had conversations about why she chose the safe route of job. She worked for the MTA. She worked for, jobs that would provide like the pension and so on, because she needed that security. She needed the healthcare. She needed all that. So when she hears me and sees what I'm doing, sometimes she just doesn't understand, or she finds it fascinating on occasion, but she's like, it's so different. Like, man, it was funny when I first graduated school, I couldn't find a job and I was doing the nightclub stuff. They got on me so much about like finding a job until I bought a house. And then they kind of like, all right, well, listen, you got health insurance. So I got health insurance. Then they're like, all right, we'll stop bothering you. They just left me alone.
Yeah.
But like, they had to see the path that, a parent's concerned, making sure I'm good.
Well, because that to them is stability, right?
Yeah.
Working a 9 to 5 is stability.
But it's not.
Absolutely.
It really isn't, because your stability is pending somebody else's decision.
And just like that, you could get cut.
As an entrepreneur, there's always
Stability
reliance
just
on
looks different. That's
exactly.
it.
I can control it a little more, and that helps me because I like to control things. Yeah, that's good.
You were quiet on that one.
Well, he doesn't really control what I do here.
I don't.
His own life. I try to do the best because I know how he thinks and I know what he wants. I try to give him what he wants. I mean, sometimes it's
Good
never going to be
support.
like that. But I mean,
but to be perfectly honest, like I didn't expect this guy. I walk in and every time he's got an update, I'm like, cool. I was cool with the way it was. The second year iteration, this is like iteration number 11 or 12. So this is he's not trying to live up to my expectations. He's living up to his own. Don't let him trick you.
well, yeah. Well, you know what? I have my expectations are high because of all the people that I like. His brother, who's my best friend. They're artists. Manny, another artist. I try to live up to their expectations of who I'm supposed to be because I got to keep up with them. So that's in my head. I got to keep up with these guys, and my head, I'm not good enough.
And
so
what's funny is we're all in awe with all this.
I love
amazing.
it.
I don't know. I feel like you should know that.
Well, I spoke. I had a conversation with him.
Yeah,
I was
we were-
asking
yeah,
him
we were-
questions. I was like,
yeah.
"Am I asking too many questions?"
No, you can ask as many questions as you want. I mean, but
this whole place is his idea. Not say he did it all by himself. He's got people involved, but this is his whole concept. People walk in here and they're like, can I just come in and hang out?
Yeah.
So this is a great place, and we should do a little bit more.
Well, I mean,
when we
that's
get
what I was
there.
telling. Like, we try to make this place feel like it's a house. Like when you come in,
Yeah.
it's like you're home. Like it's comfortable. It's like wearing a nice shirt, eating good food. Like you just real comfortable, and you just relax. And everybody's, well, especially in an interview process, you want people to be comfortable because then you're gonna see the real person. You're not gonna see like everybody's gonna be guarded and sheltered about.
But
what
you
they're
also
gonna say.
bring good energy into the space.
That's where That's what we try. We try to
Yeah.
bring the best energy possible here. Like we
'Cause
want everybody to be happy and everybody just to keep doing what we're doing.
And it could be intimidating talking about yourself, but that's why I like to keep we've had practice because
Oh no, we have.
I've-
Honestly, hands down, Jeremy's gotten really good at interviewing. Like the first one, it was like that stutter, and then I was like, right now we're off to the races.
yeah,
So-
basically. I had all these questions, and now I still have questions to reference to kind of keep things going. But conversationally, I'm just letting my curiosity for the person take lead of the conversation. Which leads to my next question: what is your most embarrassing moment?
like in
Anything. So I'll give you an example. So
things
far,
flash before my face.
I say we have 2 winners thus far. I thought it was Javier at first only, but then Ken Tanaka came in with a really embarrassing moment.
Yeah, that was a good. No,
So-
that was ridiculous.
So
'Cause that was
Ken-
on a
so-
whole new level.
Javier was getting onto the. It wasn't a school bus.
No, it was an MTA
bus
in the city.
with the snap off pants. Right. He's getting on the bus, but the door closes. Snaps the pants, and he gets pants by the door, and he's sitting on the bus in his tighty whities.
Oh, that's embarrassing.
That's really embarrassing. Then Ken Tanaka had ran the marathon on food poisoning, so every mile he had to stop and take a shit.
Oh, that's horrible.
He said it took him 8 hours. So it was like the marathon, 8 hours and 26 shits later. Like, what?
No, I live a very modest life. Yeah, no, embarrassing. I mean, that Paris runway show, they fitted me for this vest, and I didn't realize I was exposed. I won't say that's embarrassing, but I was just like, I guess being in Paris, France is okay, but yeah, just my unfitted wardrobe malfunction.
I would assume, I don't model, but I would assume that a model's more comfortable with at least being topless because are you always getting dressed and undressed in front of people?
So I've learned to become very comfortable in this space.
Yeah.
I've learned to become very comfortable with my body, obviously, but there's no consent. It's
Right.
just his expectation. So yeah.
I mean, I can see when it's unexpected. If you're expected to be, then it's different. But
If you signed up to be nude, that's
Yeah.
one thing. If
Yeah.
you signed up to have clothes on, that's another thing.
and then you're walking out and the clothes is, I hear
yeah,
that.
I mean, like,
That is an embarrassing moment, but I would say
it's not crazy.
no,
but yeah.
I can understand.
But you know what they say, when in France. So
Dude, all right. Is there anything that we haven't spoken about that I haven't asked you that you want to share? Any facts? Anything you want to share with people out there?
How much time do we have now?
It is 5:24.
I mean, I'm hungry. No, I think for me, naturally, I'm just going to say, I hope you always are in pursuit of being happy and finding your joy. There's so many things I didn't do because I didn't believe in myself. And I think we play ourselves short way too much when we don't believe in ourselves. When we
Confidence.
say I can't
Yeah.
or that's impossible. But I think just learning to love yourself a little bit more than you did the day before, it's so valuable. And community. And I think that, here we go with another plug. But I think that's why I really enjoy the Outsiders because it feeds so much of those different parts of me that as a mother, I miss because I can easily isolate myself in motherhood. So
Or in life, not
yeah,
just
in
motherhood,
life,
especially
right?
motherhood.
Yeah, especially I think being in New York and over these years with the pandemic of just being indoors so much and and just saying no to a lot of things that this is good.
You just touched on a question I actually forgot to ask was what your favorite part of the Outsiders was, but the community aspect that you
Yeah.
said, and for me that's my favorite part as well.
Yeah, I do, and I mean I've gone twice by myself, so it's like
But you didn't leave
no
alone in
no.
the sense where you left having met people that you still in touch with.
But yeah, and I've never felt alone. Like even going by myself, I never felt like I was there alone, which I love. And I think community is such a huge aspect of whole wellness, right?
100%.
Like it's important to be around people who are enjoying themselves and having a good time. And also there's a bit of encouragement to, especially Bear Mountain.
Yeah.
It was tough. So there
I
was
didn't
this.
even expect it to be that tough.
Yeah,
Sorry.
having that you can do it. We're almost there. One more.
Because everyone else is
hill.
struggling too. So I
Yeah.
think it's like the shared experience. Even if it's if it's shared, there's a connecting. I mean, one of our most challenging outdoor adventures was waterfall canyoneering. And everybody left bruised up, freezing cold, scratches, and like some people had cuts on their hands and stuff. And I'm like, oh no. I feel like, damn, this could be bad for us. And then everyone sits down at the place to go eat and drink. And all of a sudden, everyone starts talking about the war stories about what they just experienced and comparing bruises and cuts. And I'm like, oh, thank God.
What has been some of your like moments where you're just like, I should have not done that, but then it turned out amazing?
I wouldn't say it should not have done that.
Or you doubted yourself?
But I think there was one event that Chris was actually on. We did the first time we ever did Stairway
We
to
actually talked about that one before you came. We were talking about it.
Stairway to Heaven. I had a bus, but I had like half of what I needed to even break even. So I lost money on it. And I was like, damn, maybe this is not cut out for me. I don't know. But this happened to be the best hike as far as the people getting along and making connections and the vibe. And Jamie was his first outing with us, and he made us a toast at the place we went to eat and drink after, saying it was the best event he's ever experienced in his life. And I was like, all right, well, this is just an investment into Outsiders. This L I took financially was an investment. So that was, I guess that was the moment. I don't know if there's anything I regret as far as that activity-wise.
Well, no, not regret, but one of those things where you just were hard on yourself and it just turned out amazing.
That one.
Okay.
The whole time I'm like, I was thinking about like my financial situation. I'm like, oh man, I'm not in a position where I want to lose money. But at the end of the day, it wasn't a loss by any means. It catapulted us for the next following 6 months. So it was good.
Well, I was telling her about when everybody had to run through the puddle.
Yeah. And the thing is,
Freezing
it was a
cold.
shared experience.
Yep.
And it's not something that we could control either. It wasn't like we set people up for this hard time. So, yeah, I mean, I'm very much one that wants to make sure the details are, planned out already. So when there's something that's unexpected everyone experiences, well, if everyone experiences it, it's obviously not something that we didn't plan for. It's just a random thing that how could we plan for? I still stress out a bit, but people seem to be okay with it. I think people understand. Most people are understanding, forgiving, empathetic, all that stuff.
Yeah, well, majority of people realize that shit does happen.
Yeah.
So you got to work around it.
Yeah, and those who don't understand that, and those who want to, those maybe aren't people for Outsiders. I know you're limited on time, so we have a last segment is 5 rapid fire questions. Are you ready? All right.
Let's go.
What's your favorite city other than New York City?
Paris.
Good choice. If you could do any other profession, what would it be? Accountant.
I think something building with my hands. I don't want to say architecture.
Carpentry?
Maybe carpentry, or even mechanically. Like I think I would want to build.
Really? Well, Bam has built this whole set by hand.
Listen, we had the whole
Oh, you did?
conversation
Okay,
about
my
this
bad.
place.
She was here. We had a conversation
Okay.
before your late ass showed up.
Okay. I can see that. What's your biggest fear?
Regretting
Okay.
not doing the things that I want to do, getting to a certain age and saying, damn,
Okay.
I can't believe I didn't do that.
That is a valid fear for sure.
Yeah.
'Cause sometimes you can't get those moments back.
No.
If you can model for anything, any brand, your dream shoot,
Oh,
your
wow.
dream representation, what would it be?
Ooh, I should know this, but I don't because I think there's just so many amazing brands out there. Oh, dang it, Jeremy.
Whatever comes to mind. You don't have to think about it.
Oh,
First thing that comes to mind.
I think it'd be something luxury, definitely a high-end luxury brand.
Okay.
Yeah.
Give me an example of one you think of when you think of high-end luxury.
Givenchy.
Givenchy. Okay.
Yeah.
I went to the Paris Fashion Week party a few years ago, and it was
course you did.
amazing.
You know what? When we had started having a conversation, I didn't realize she was a model.
Uh-huh.
And I told her one of my things I want to shoot is like I want to shoot like a Harper Bazaar type of editorial
Okay.
And what did I say?
that you can do it.
That what?
That you can do it.
By the way,
You don't need to you can just do it. Like you can make it happen.
I was actually in a 16-page editorial for Elle magazine September issue. Just
Check
saying.
you out.
I was.
Check you out.
It was for
I
Nightlife though, and it was thanks to my boy Ferris Bueller. Shout out to you, appreciate you. But yeah, it was funny about it. 'Cause it it was a September issue, 16-page editorial about nightlife legends in New York, and I was
Do you still have the magazine?
yeah, it's framed in my house.
Hang on a sec. I got to back the camera up. His head's getting really big right now.
But what's funny is like, you know, I was like, I was telling friends, yeah, I'm in in this issue. They saw the issue, like, yo, it's September issue. Like, yeah, no, it's in September. Like, no, it's a September issue.
Yeah, that's
like,
a big
I
issue.
understand it's in September. Like, you don't understand.
I told you it was September.
I didn't realize
That's the Bible
exactly
of the year.
So it was again. Thank you, Ferris. Anyway, well, that's my little bragging rights. What's your favorite food?
Oh, we're about to get down on that.
Let's do it.
Ethiopian.
Ethiopian, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Is it?
I didn't think this through, but no, you don't.
What did you bring? Well, you unwrap it.
do I do
want to see.
unwrapping?
I'll hold the bag, and you can.
All right.
Yeah, I'll let you do it. So wait, when did you fall in love with Ethiopian food? Why?
I did a job in Ethiopia.
Okay.
Yeah, it was this fashion show that flew us out. Didn't pay, but covered all the expenses, and that's when I fell in love. I really didn't think this out, but
It's all good. This is you have to eat with this in your hands. I've
Yes.
had this food before. It's really good. This bread is a little like
spongy.
tangy, sour. I wash my hands.
Yeah. I mean, no, let's have the full-on experience. I'm okay. I washed my hands
All right.
prior
So
to
what
this.
what exactly did you get?
Oh, so I'm a vegetarian.
Okay. How long have you been a
95%
vegetarian?
of the time. I have been, let me see, maybe 14, 15
Really?
years. Yeah.
What made you become vegetarian?
I just felt like meat wasn't in mine. Go ahead. I just didn't want to eat meat. It just felt like there was a disconnect with me eating meat. And it's one of those things. You have those innate feelings where you're just like, I just don't feel like this is me anymore.
I'm like ruining this.
Go ahead,
Sorry.
take the whole thing.
Well,
There you
Tony, the artist, she's the same way. Like, she has a disconnect. She's a vegetarian. She can't really eat meat either. Like, I think when she was in school, like when she was in high school, it was like it kind of affected her a little bit. So she literally just went straight vegan.
Yeah, I feel so much better not eating meat. I do have those moments. Like I said, there's 5% of the time where I have these moments where I'm just like, I want steak con tostones.
Yeah.
And depending on the mood, I might just say, F it, let's go. And I'll
Okay,
have
so
it.
yeah.
Yeah. But for the 95% of the time, it's all vegetables. So you have beets, you
What
have
am I eating here?
greens, you have, I don't know the terms and I don't want to jack it up.
Okay. I think I'm doing this right. This is how I've seen them do it when I go eat in the.
Where did you get, where did you?
That one was nearby Port Authority, not too far.
Okay.
On
Wow.
Hell's
You having
Kitchen.
some?
Yeah.
I'm gonna say I'm not eating here by myself. While you watch me.
I also told her that you do these shows for free food.
Yep.
Yep. Listen, I didn't respond to that text when you sent it to me. I was like, what?
Well, if you think about it, a lot of people will bring their own culture as food, right? So learning about somebody based on what they like to eat, like, what's her name? Samantha brought a great.
Yeah.
She went all out. She's Chinese. She brought sausages that are unique to her region in China, but then she also is a big sweet tooth. So she brought snacks from there, and also cookies from Maman, this French bakery in Manhattan. Like, she went all out because she's a big.
Oh, that's
foodie.
amazing.
So we ate well that day.
That's amazing.
And then she had this matcha cheesecake, which I haven't stopped thinking about since. And I'm not a huge matcha person, but it was so good. Anyway, let me try one more thing before
Go for it.
we call it quits. It's funny. It tastes great, and it doesn't feel. It obviously doesn't taste like you're eating bad either. It's healthy,
You're not. It's all,
and it's very well flavored and spiced. It's not bland.
which is what I love about Ethiopian food.
Agreed. All right, I know you got to run out, but I want to say thank you so much for participating. I'm glad you were on the show. I hope everyone. I mean, I know everyone's going to see, how special you are, and I want to thank you for being such an advocate for outsiders and sharing your story, your lows, your highs, and all that. I think it's important. So
Thank you.
appreciate. We'll have to have you back on eventually. talk about your progress with your whole schooling. We're going to check up on your
Yes.
report card. Post that on our social. But thanks again. I appreciate you. And yeah, thank
Thanks
you.
for having me. This has been fun.
All right. Thank you. Peace.
Ooh.